I'll try to approach what Father Tabit said after I make my presentation, because these are very thorny issues we should deal with. I believe that we are here because there is a problem. Denying the problem does not solve it. And as the British sociologist Huxley, he says, the definition of a problem is half the way to solve it. So we have to admit first that there is a problem. We have to define this problem. Then we have to work to find a solution for that problem. The Middle East is changing, as you have already said in your presentation, Mr. Marco. And the features of this change, there are many features that prove that there is a fundamental change taking place. One of these features is that Islamists are in power. In Egypt, in Tunisia, in Libya, in Morocco, and they are leading the movements, change movements in Syria, in Yemen, and even in Jordan. So there is a rise of Islamists in power, going in parallel with the rise of Islamic fundamentalism in the Middle East. These two are moving together, rise of fundamentalism and rise in power. The second feature, which is usually very little attention is focused on it, is the rise of Jewish fundamentalism in Israel. Now, according to Israeli statistics, there are 35% of the Israelis recognize themselves as fundamentalists. And in the coming decade, this is going to, as they say, it will be more than 40%. Now, you have to imagine, in the Middle East, you have a rise of Jewish fundamentalism, you have a Jewish state on one hand, and you have a rise of Muslim fundamentalism, and they are rushing to be in power. Now, if we look at the Christians of the Middle East, on the light of these two features, we see that there is a shrinking role of Christians and shrinking number of Christians because of immigration. These three features together draw a very dangerous line we have to focus on. These are the features of change. Because of this, there is a problem to be defined, as I started with. The problem is that there is a Christian worry, and even there is a Christian fear of the future. Are we going as Christians to be hammered between Islamic fundamentalism and Jewish fundamentalism? What will be our future? And this, the second big question mark, is that with the rise of Islamists and Islamists taking the lead and in power, the big question for Christians is this change is going from political oppression to religious oppression? Christians and Muslims together were victims of political oppression, and they both are against political oppression. But when this change takes the new phase of religious oppression, Christians have the right to worry and to be afraid of the future. Why to be afraid? Now, look at what happened in Iraq of attacking churches and clergymen. Look at what happened in Egypt even. Look at what's happening in Syria. So there is also a culture.
It's happening in Turkey also.
Well, Turkey as part of the Middle East, yes, you are right. The culture which really makes Christians fear is that some Islamists describe Christians as descendants from the Crusades. And these Christians are here before Islam, not before the Crusades, before Islam itself. And the second big problem in this culture, they describe Christians as, and the West are two faces of the same coin. Islam has problems with the West, so the problem is with the Christians of the Middle East because they are, and the West, the same. So these misinterpretations are real problems in building confidence and building common future. Well, but let me say that the situation in the Middle East is much more complex. And sometimes it is difficult to find the words to describe it. And see, Albert Einstein was once asked, how do you explain simply your theory of relativity? Einstein said, imagine a nice lady sitting in your lap for an hour. You will feel it is a second. Now, for me, I take this same logic to say, for a Christian, he will say, imagine if you have a fireball in your lap for a second, you will feel it is like an age. So you have to put yourself in the place of the Christian in order to feel the difficult situation they are facing. Now, if this definition of the problem is true, the question is how to solve it then. The only way to solve such a problem is to respect religious freedom. My brother and my colleague, Father Tabit, talked about the visit of the Holy Father to Lebanon. The papal document, that was published there, described religious freedom as the crown of all freedoms. That's the verbal word. Religious freedom is the crown of all freedoms. And we just repeat after this, Amen. That's true. But how to achieve, how to do it? The only way to achieve it is through citizenship, equal citizenship between Christians and Muslims. And equal citizenship demands a civil state which respects religion and religious people, not annihilate, not prohibits, but respect religion. A civil state of this kind, we ask for it. I always say that religion spoils the state, and the state spoils religion. Religion spoils the state when it changes the concept of people governing people to people be governed by God or by the name of God. This is spoiled. This is the principle of spoil. And the state spoils religion when it makes it a substance for conflict, for abuse, and for difference between communities. So there should be a respect of religion but separated from the state. Now, in a plural society, like my country here, Lebanon, like most of the Middle East, plural society reflects the greatness of God of creating peoples of different ethnicities, of different colors, of different languages, of different religions. The problem is not in being different. The problem is in the lack of the culture of respecting differences. Differences are there, and differences are going to remain there, but our job is to promote the culture of accepting and respecting these differences. We cannot live without it, and this is the point for the whole of the Middle East to do it. After all cultures, as the anthropologist Gellner cautions, cultures are not our choice, but our fate. Changing choices might be easy or difficult, but it is always impossible. But changing fate is something else. It is like changing ethnicity or the DNA, which is impossible.